Practicing your golf game on the driving range. This is something that many people are familiar with, a lot of people want to do more of, and a lot of people don't know exactly how to make the most of their time on the range. So today we'll be going over 3 very helpful tips that will help you make that time spent on the range the most effective that it can be. Hey everybody, I'm George Conley from Scratch Golf Tips, and before we get into the 3 tips, just wanted to remind you it would be greatly appreciated if you like this video, and if you want to see more of our content in the future, feel free to subscribe to the Scratch Golf Tips YouTube channel. Now right into tip number 1. This is something that's very simple and you may be thinking, well that's odd, I think that's fairly obvious, but when you look back at the practice you've done on the driving range, it may not be as apparent as you think it is. I'm talking about choosing a very specific target when you are on the driving range hitting full swing shots. Now, whenever you're on the golf course, you're looking at a pin. That is a very specific target. And when you're not aiming directly at the pin, you're aiming at a tree or you're aiming off of a bunker on the fairway. There are always very particular areas on the golf course that you're focused on. However, when you go to a driving range, it's usually just a bunch of open grass. You might see 6 different colored flags and you're just kind of aiming to hit it straight. But what really is straight? Because you don't have a particular target. So take a very particular area, look exactly at one of the flags in the distance and be sure that you can align yourself to that flag and hit balls directly at that flag. Because that's going to allow you to more constructively criticize how you're shooting at that flag. If you're saying, oh, I'm going to hit it pretty straight, and then you hit it 5 yards to the right, in your mind, that might look pretty straight and you'll think that's a good shot, when in reality, that's not the best shot. So when you're saying, I'm gonna aim it at that blue flag, you can align your body directly at that blue flag, and then if you hit it 5 yards right, you can look back objectively and say, okay, I was a little bit right of that. So although it sounds simple, it's not always practiced by amateurs. So be sure to align, focus, and shot shape towards a particular aspect or object on that driving range. If you don't have flags, you can look at a specific area. Maybe there's a bunker there. You can also look in the distance if there are any trees, any other features. You just need something that you can hone in on repeatedly so that you can allow yourself to criticize your shots. Next, let's talk about the shots that we'll be practicing. Now, I speak from experience when I say I like to go to the driving range and hit the shots that I like to hit, the shots that I feel comfortable hitting. I know that I like my 8, 9, and 7 iron. That's my wheelhouse. So I like to go to the range and hit a bunch of those golf shots because that's what I do well. But when you look back at it objectively, that's not really the most effective thing to be doing. When in reality, my 3, 4, and 5 irons, I don't like to hit them because I'm not very good at hitting them, but that's what you should be doing on the range. So to sum up this point, we should be hitting shots that we're not comfortable with. I know that that's not necessarily the most fun approach to the driving range. It's not gonna make for an hour of, really enjoyable golf, but if we're looking to improve the game, it obviously makes sense to work much more on the aspects of our game that really need improvement. It's the same concept that goes forward with chipping and putting and any other aspect of our practice. We like to do what we like to do. And again, like I said, my long irons I'm not comfortable with, so I'd often shy away from them. But I really need to put the time in and focus and have deliberate practice with those clubs in order to make them better and in turn make my golf game more rounded and once again in turn shoot lower scores. With that being said, don't completely abandon the other parts of your game. Just understand and make a game plan. Like I said, my short irons I'm solid with, so I'll still hit a few of them. You don't want them to get rusty, but you need to be experimental and you need to touch all aspects of your game while having a heavy weight on the aspects of your game that you are not comfortable with. Also important to understand what parts of it you are not comfortable with. So like I said, with my long irons, this is just an example for me. You can apply this to whatever part of your game needs work. With my long irons, I was fairly comfortable hitting a low fade. So I can hit them all right if I'm hitting a low fade. So I don't work on that as much when I'm working on those long irons. If I want to hit a high fade or even a high draw, those are shots I have a much more difficult time with. So I'll spend more time really focusing on that aspect of my game. I will film my swing. I'll utilize drills. I'll have other people look at my swing. Whatever you can do to really make that time important, because that's where the time needs to be spent. And now my final tip is where it does get a little bit more fun, and that is getting creative with your shot selection on the driving range. Many people will hit all different kinds of shots on the golf course. You have to hit under trees, you have to hit over water, you have to hit from downhill lies, uphill lies. There's a bunch of different shots you have to hit, yet most of us go to the range and we hit 8 stock pitching wedges, 8 stock 9-irons. You're just hitting these stock shots and you only hit them when you're in the fairway on a clean lie. But we really do need to experiment with trying to hook a 5-iron around the trees, trying to slice a 7-iron high around a tree. There's a bunch of different things that we have to do on the golf course that we're not comfortable with because there's no familiarity with it through practice. It is worth noting that you shouldn't be spending all day trying to hook your 5-iron, because maybe that's a shot you'll hit once or twice on the golf course. But just touching on those shots and getting creative and just visualizing, hey, let's pretend that this red flag up front is a tree and I'm aiming towards the blue flag in the back. How can I hook a ball around that? How can I slice a ball around that? And just play with it. Play with how closed or open your club face is. Play with your stance. Just get comfortable shaping shots, hitting high, low, left, right, all these different shots that you may need. Spend a little bit of time getting more acquainted with them and figuring out how you can attack that when those uncomfortable situations approach you on the golf course. Now, those are just 3 of the many, many things that we can do on the practice range that can really improve our golf and, more importantly, make us more confident on the golf course. Because a lot of what the practice that we do on the driving range, it's not making the perfect Adam Scott-like golf swing. It's becoming more familiar with how you play golf. And if you can really understand how you play golf, you can navigate your way around a golf course without getting over technical. And that is a huge way to lower your scores and, in my opinion, have a lot more fun on the golf course. But this is a very individualized aspect of golf, how people like to practice, what works for them, what doesn't work for them. It's different for every golfer. So I'd love to hear some discourse in the comment section below how you have really benefited from effective practice and what you've done. What drills have you worked on? What mentality have you had? How much time? How often? Give me all the information you got. I'd love to hear it in the comment section down below. And if you're curious as to more ways that you can practice outside of the 3 that I've listed in this video, read through the comments and see what other people have done that have helped them become better golfers. As I said earlier, if you enjoy this type of content, we have over 150 videos already existing on the channel. So you can watch all those videos. That we have a bunch of different things. I know that in this video, we talked more about the driving range aspects, not really the putting green and the chipping practice aspects, but we have videos on that. You can go through our channel. There's a search button. You can just click putting practice or chipping practice. You'll find some great content there. And again, if you want to see some of our future uploads, we're uploading a few times a week at this point. You can hit the subscribe button and turn on post notifications so that you're notified every time we post a new video. As always, I appreciate the support on the account very much. Play well and take care.